going to reclose the bid war, so let me just check one more time. I don't think it's changed. Yep, it looks like we are still going with the Krusty Krab costume. Okay. Let's get started in 3, 2, 1, go. Alright, so this is SpongeBob's Truth or Square for the Nintendo Wii. Or no, not Nintendo Wii, sorry. Xbox 360. I just picked up this console, so I'm a little scatterbrained about it. But, so this game is based off a TV movie special for the SpongeBob series that was sort of like a big nostalgia bomb for people. Unfortunately, it didn't do very well commercially, so as a result, this game didn't. But this game's got some cool speed tech to it. So we're going to start out in Jellyfish Fields. The big thing I'm going to be looking for are these robots to spawn close together in little groups, and it looks like oh my goodness, that's a great start. In doing so, I can get them to group together with one swing, which saves a little bit of time having to not take as many attacks. But we got a really solid robot pattern. The robots do revolve around a little bit of randomness. They can vary in where exactly they spawn within a level. And then they can also wander around a bit randomly. So there's not too much I can do about it, but it doesn't lose enough time to be reset heavy. So these guys over here, I'm going to walk straight, and hopefully this will manip them into lining up just right. But they can still wander a bit, so maybe looking for the guys in the back here. One a little bit far away. I think we can make this work. There we go. Yeah, sorry for the choppy stuff. It might have like 80% been my fault, but I'm not sure. So I'm gonna stand on this tiki here, and we're gonna set up for a trick called Tiki Jump, and this is gonna skip this really annoying button pushing section, and we got it. So normally that'd be really easy under normal circumstances, but in the first level, the first move that they unlock for you is the slam, which I just did right there. And they don't give you the spin, and the spin allows you to extend your horizontal distance, so it makes a lot of these early game tricks really difficult until like the second level. So that's fun. These rotating platforms have really wonky physics. Typically, the idea is you want to run with the current. I liken running against the way it's turning as to like trying to swim up a lazy river. You just lose a ton of momentum. Oh, missed the button. My bad. So we're coming up on barrels now. So there are these barrel objects in the game that have really wonky physics, but it just so happens that we can actually roll them around, and we're going to use them as platforms to kind of skip these next couple of segments that would normally take like what feels like 2 years. I'm going to start with this barrel. I'm going to try to roll it onto this plank, and then have it roll right next to this rock. And it should let me jump up here. Okay, I got to reposition this guy a little too far away. There we go. And we're up over the ledge. Now this oop, there we go. Almost just ripped out my sound. Whoops. So this next barrel is really hard because we have to get it to stand upright. So I'm gonna come over here. I'm going to slam the wall. That does an animation cancel that finishes the end lag of the slam faster. I'm gonna try to roll this barrel up against the wall. And we're over there. Nice. We got that first try. That trick can be pretty inconsistent, especially for new players, so I'm very lucky that I got that first try. We're going to skip this little slide segment by walking around along this rail, and then we'll just jump down to the other side. Alright, so we're going to end the level off with a fight. So this level, or this fight, we do not understand how this fight works, how to get it to be consistently fast. It can be kind of random when the robots decide to fall from the air. The idea is we're just trying to kill the robots as fast as possible, so that the next guys can spawn in, because there can only be 5 robots on the field at any one point. This is a very weird fight that I'm going for. I'm gonna have to improv this pretty hard. Where did he spawn? 2 more. And where's he gonna spawn? What's up?
Question, did you
No, I did not. Okay, we'll put it on after this segment. Sorry about that. I totally forgot. Whoops. So this is the end of Jellyfish Fields. So we get this item at the end of each main level, including boss fights, called a happiness object. And the game tracks our progress through, in theory, how many of those objects we've collected. But we'll get into that a little bit more later. But after this level, I have to go do the incentive. I'm so sorry for forgetting. So we gotta unlock all the costumes real quick. And I think the incentive was for Krusty Krab, and let's see if any of them match. We got Squidward too, so we'll do Squidward as well. And now we're gonna go talk to Sandy, and we're gonna do Kelp Forest. Alright, so this level is very reset heavy, and the reason why is due to a trick that I'm gonna try to go for within sort of first couple attempts at this, and if I don't get it, I'll just kill the robots up ahead. So there's your costume, everyone. It's a little hat. Little Krusty Krab hat. I think Squidward has it on too. I said it too, so. Alright, so I'm gonna move these guys over into the corner, and then I'm gonna get kind of a cool jump. I'm gonna try to focus for this real quick. Oh, we almost got it. Alright, I have to kill them now. Oh, come on. Alright, so what I was going for was a trick for, called Hammer Boost. And so when hammer bots are sort of swinging their hammers, essentially what happens is their hitbox changes. So what I was going for is I was hoping that, I would jump over the robot's head in such a way that it would boost me above the platform. And you can see I got the height enough a couple of times, but it wasn't quite enough to get me to stick the landing, so got a little bit unlucky there. So now we got this fight, so we're gonna wait for these guys to come in, and then I'm gonna go for a guaranteed triple. This is one of the few fights in the game where, oh, gosh darn it. This is one of the few fights where they are guaranteed to spawn in the same place. Yeah, there's a task right here where you can clip through that wall that I was near with those hammer bots, and it just puts you through the wall, and it saves a minute of skipping this fight. So I'm doing a trick here called Spin Boost. Essentially, I jump and spin into a spinning robot right after the other, and that gives me an insane amount of height. So we're gonna be abusing that a couple times throughout this level. Did another animation cancel right there on the. Oh. So we're gonna be grabbing Buff again, and I waited to sort of talk about it until now, because it's not really used much until now. So the way Buff Power-Up works is it does double damage to all enemies, it increases your base run speed, and it also makes this sort of short hop spinning motion that I'm going to be doing really fast. So whenever I have free time, I'm going to be doing these short hop spins in order to move quick. So hopefully if I get through here quick enough, I can make this cycle. Uh-oh. Okay, we're good. So something I forgot to mention. The minute you take damage as Buff, you lose the power-up instantly. So essentially, in order to go fast, we have to, when we get Buff, we have to do the rest of the level damage list, essentially. So yeah. So coming up onto the, this is another segment we're going to skip with a Spin Boost. This one's probably the hardest, in particular because we need an insane amount of height to skip the level, or the part of the level. And we got it first try. Nice. Oops. Well, I spun it to, alright, backup strat. There we go. That works. So normally you're supposed to get all the way on top, but I got a really weird camera lock, so I didn't quite get up on top, but I managed to at least spin the propeller, so that's all you really need. Another animation cancel here. Alright, I gotta be careful of these flowers, because if you stand too close to them, they'll eat you and your buff power up, and that just feels bad. Alright, going for a swag strat here. Nice, we got over the fence, cool. That slays like very little time, but it looks really cool. So normally you need a power up to blaze through these flowers, but you can actually just jump right between them, and you'll never take damage. We're gonna do another spin boost to skip this section. And we're over. Sick. That went pretty well, other than missing hammer boost. Now we're coming up on a mini boss, and because I was able to maintain buff all the way into this fight, we're gonna be able to 2-cycle him instead of 3-cycle him, because we'll deal double damage. Shoutouts to the Beatles, by the way. So the key with this fight is to lure him into walls. That'll cause his spinning attack to end as soon as possible. So something I forgot to mention is there's 2 versions of this game. There is a Wii version and this version, which is the Xbox 360 version. So the reason we don't run on Wii is A, the loads are slower, B, it runs in 30 FPS, and C, if you don't have a GameCube controller or like classic controller, you have to play with motion controls. And you have to do those short hop spins with motion controls. And it's really bad, so I used to run on Wii, and my PV on Wii is like a 3350. And now my time is like a 30-25, so it saves it. If you can avoid it, you never want to run on Wii. There's also a couple other versions of this game on like PSP and DS, but those are almost like different games entirely, so we don't care about them. Oh, something else I forgot to mention. There is trivia on each loading screen before a level. So if you guys want, it's usually a fun thing to just play around and like see which ones you can get right in chat, because some of them are really dumb and very confusing. So, alright, we're coming up on Robo Patrick now. This fight is pretty low-key. All I have to do is make sure that I'm killing waves of robots fast, and then I'm just hitting Robo Pat at the earliest time possible. So there's not too much that I need to talk about going on here, so if you guys have any donations at all to read, now's a pretty good time. Thank you, Lily. Run truth or square. Alright, so I can't tell if Allie's reading more donations, so I hope I'm not talking over her. But we're getting into the fry cook level now, and this is sort of where the run starts to pick up a little bit, with some of the more intensive tricks. But hopefully you guys are doing okay on the trivia so far. Also, coming up, best line in the game. So we get a new move here called Cannon Shot, and it allows us to shoot a projectile. It's not really used for any speed tech, but it's required for a couple of mandatory segments in this level, so we just deal with it. In some of the other runs, and you'll see this in sort of the final boss as well, it's actually the fastest method of dealing damage because the cooldown time is super short. Ooh, don't want to take damage on the auto-scroller. Alright, I have to be a little bit careful for a spin bot not to get in my way. Spinning moves and robots can actually reflect projectiles, so I have to be really careful to not get unlucky and just sort of not have a spinner completely block me. I've lost runs to it before because it loses so much time. So fun fact about that button, you actually have to wait to press it, because if you press it as the minute you get on the bus, it will actually pause for a couple of seconds before you go, so you have to press it like the moment the bus stops. It's kind of silly. Alright, just a little bit more of the auto-scroller stuff, and then we can get on to the cool stuff of this level. Okay, we're fine on health. I can make this work. So I'm gonna get to this pier, and then I'm gonna jump around the pier like so. That skips a cutscene. And then we're gonna use this rock to skip this big section. So I'm gonna focus. There we go. Okay. So we used those propellers right there to basically guide us over an invisible wall, and that let us skip the section. So the propellers kind of work in the same way that those rotating platforms did that I mentioned earlier, like in the first level, except they rotate really fast. So if you hit them the right way, you can actually get like an insane amount of momentum off of them. But then again, they can also just rip you right off the propeller and you just fall. Alright, so this is the only mandatory water part right here. You could, in theory, skip this, but they really wanted you to do it, so they put a bunch of invisible walls around it, so you can't skip it. Just really pathetic. Oop, knocked over the barrel. Rip fast strat. So we're gonna get up here, and we're gonna shoot this target, which will keep these propellers down. And we're gonna do another set of propeller jumps to get up to this pole, and then we use the pole to get over an invisible wall and skip that section, which is also really long and annoying. So you guys will be seeing the only instance of Squidward power up in the run. Of the three other characters' power-ups, Squidward's is by far the best. It has the highest DPS, and it just has such good range, so it's really good for clearing out enemies in a large area. So I have to be a little careful here. I've actually fallen in the water while the cutscene had my camera locked, and I lost a PB pace run to that more than once, so... Gonna use this tiki over here to jump to a later part of the track. And we're coming up on swag shots. So normally these, this bumper rotates on a cycle, so I have to wait. But if I get really kind of lucky with one of my shots, I can get like a reflected shot off the bumper while it's turning. And that'll let me hit it a cycle earlier. Oh, I got one! Let's go. That is in no way consistent. But I go for it anyway, because it usually doesn't lose you any time to go for. So let's try one. That went pretty well. So now we're coming up on the Santa level. Which, oh, there you can see Squidward's hat as well. So, no pun intended. This is one of the probably the coolest level in the any % category. I'm not gonna spoil what happens. All I'm gonna say once it loads in is don't blink. not Santa. Okay, so let me get, okay. So the way that works is that in order, so the level, the trigger for the level to end is when you collect the final happiness, or the end level happiness object, like I mentioned at the beginning of the run. But in order to save on processing power, the devs hit several of these objects out of bounds. So instead of having to like instantiate them the moment the chest appears and get a giant frame drop, they just load them up during the loading screen. So as long as you go out of bounds and touch them, you just skip the level entirely. Now we're going on to Murmelair. This level's pretty nice as well. So let's get started with Murmelair. So I'm going to go this way. Normally you're supposed to go straight for it, but I'm going to jump on this rock. I'm going to jump over to this ledge, and that's Murmelair. So for some reason there is a trigger behind that door that skips the entire level. We don't know why it's there, but it is, so we take those. Oh, also, hardest trivia question ever. Alright, so because of the way we did that trick, we actually have to go back into the level select and do it again in order to get the game to advance properly. There we go. Yeah, so fun fact, the IO world record for this level for the any percent category is 10 seconds. And it might be possible to push sub 9. So if you look at the level select, you'll see that the next level has appeared inside the level select. So I actually lied to you. We are going to be doing this 5 times in a row. And so the reason why is that instead of the devs requiring that you collect every unique end level happiness object, they instead have it so that, because they were like, okay, they're never going to be able to hit these again, right? So we'll make it so it increments just a single, like, counter in memory. And so this trigger does the same thing. So if we hit this trigger multiple times, we're upping that in-game count as to how many levels the game thinks we've completed. So essentially what we're going to be doing is we're going to do this another 3 to 4 times. I don't remember how many I've done. I use a visual cue to tell how many I have left. And you can see characters are starting to move around and new levels are getting added because the game thinks that we've completed levels that we haven't. So we're going to be doing this a couple more times, and essentially we're going to be skipping the last half of the game with this trick. And we're going to do this until Patrick has an exclamation point over his head, and that'll take us to the final boss. So I'll take a little bit of time now for some special thanks. First of all, I'd like to thank a guy named Cole. He's known as like the godfather of SpongeBob speedrunning, or one of them, and he discovered this trick along with most of the other major tricks that you see in the any percent category, and is a big part of the reason why I picked up this game, because of all this cool tech. I'd also like to thank Tedious, who I for sure know he's hiding somewhere in chat, for just pushing me to push this game harder. I'd also like to thank the people who run the marathon for doing an excellent job and for allowing me to showcase this pretty cool game at this marathon. And so yeah, I don't have too much to talk about at the moment, so if you guys have more time for donations, now is a perfect opportunity. Oh boy.
So, we have a $3 donation from a Ploff27 that says, had to donate for Jaxler's Truth or Square run. Hopefully you don't clip through the floor again on Plankton. Good luck and much love from all your friends at Speedruns Rochester.
Aw, thanks, Ploff. So what he's referring to is when I did this run at a in-house marathon from the Speedruns Rochester group, and during the second phase of this fight, I got put through the floor by a random hammer bot, and we have no idea how that happened. But I went like 6 minutes over estimate. It was pretty, well, maybe not that bad, but it was pretty bad. So this fight's basically an auto-scroller. We're going to be looking to optimize our robot kills both out on these rooftops and when we eventually go inside the core of Roboplankton here. So yeah, there's not too much to talk about in regards to that, but I am going to be trying to maintain the buff power up throughout the fight, but which is mostly for the first and second phases. And the reason why is in a couple of places there are these triggers that act as a forcible removal for your buff power up. And because they give you a buff power up in the third rooftop phase, they're like, okay, we should probably take this off before they enter core again. So we will have to pick up another one eventually. But oh well. And there's the first phase. Oh, yes, something else I was about to talk about. We actually have a Discord group, not only for this game, but for other SpongeBob games, such as Battle for Bikini Bottom and the SpongeBob movie game. If you guys are interested in picking up either this game after what you've seen, or another SpongeBob game, there's basically a community for each of them. So, PM me on Twitch, Jaxler1, and I can send you the link. The one on the speedrun.com page is a little out of date, so... Good, looks like we're going to be maintaining buff into this next phase. Having buff in the next phase is a big deal, and the reason why is that there is a generator right behind me, and if I have buff, I can just go straight to that generator, instead of having to go to the crate that's to my left. Okay, just killing that guy to be safe. Alright, that was the guy who put me through the floor, as Ploff mentioned in his donation, and he was very close to nailing me, so I got pretty lucky there. Oh yeah, yeah, sure, go ahead. Drop the link. Or ask Tedious first, if he's in there.